Dad's at home, and we will be soon. He'll be headed back to work soon.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Very cool. Henry?
Well, Jenny got together all the little things and wrote out our will and got it all notarized. So I got all dressed up, ready to go.
I was wondering why you're so dressed up. Wow. Are you planning on that happening today? Are you announcing something to Hank? By the way, that whole will thing, did they contact you about that?
They told everyone on Facebook.
Okay, I was going to say, you're not part of it. I just want you to know. I'm just kidding. Okay, well.
I'm not worried about it.
Hey, they're better off.
Yeah.
My dad built his own urn.
Are you serious?
Before he died. Wow.
I kind of.
There are a lot of measurements figured into it, like with your body mass, that you needed a certain size, and he Googled that and he built his own urn a few years before he died. He thought it was pretty fun.
Did you go
that
and
makes
throw
me.
it out of clay or something?
No, wood.
What did you make it out? In the wood?
Post office driver.
That makes me really like him. Wow, that's very cool.
I remember the moment he came, like it was at the Sunday dinner, showing, oh yeah, look, I made my own urn.
Wow.
Was he in earnest?
Wow, that is really neat, and it's also a little bit morose, I think, right? I mean, but
Yeah, but he likes that kind of.
yeah, my dad was so that way. I remember when I was a kid, we drive along. He's like, "Oh, that's where I want to retire." I'm like, "What is that?" He's like, "That's a funeral home." Yeah. So yeah, that's good. That's a pretty cool guy. So you got your carpentry skills from him. That's cool.
Not for me at all.
That's good.
Not at all.
That's really cool. That's neat. That's very neat. Any prayer requests?
Right. Her injury. That's big in my heart so far. Work, managing people, always great. And yeah, relationship hope. So,
Yep. Okay. Prayer request?
Strengthening bonds.
I'm sorry. Yep.
Strengthening bonds.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
We're gonna bypass it on that one. We don't have time for a whole therapy session.
Okay. I saw the look in your face. She was like, made you think. Your purpose made me think. They're like, oh man, I need to be praying for that. Yeah, that's good. All right. All right.
I'm just trying to. I was still trying to find a balance with like finances the whole time.
Fully understand that.
Huge adjustment. I'm trying to find a career where I can be here and not have to go back over the road.
Okay. Jer?
wisdom. Perseverance.
Man, I like everyone's giving these prayer requests for themselves that I want for everyone. I want for myself. That's good. I may just take yours and say double it for me. Good.
For my mother.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I've already prayed for it today. So well, no. Well, no, but my point being is it is one of my prayer requests too. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Under pressure to come up with something good. Like you said, a double portion.
Hey, there you go, double portion. There you go. There you go. Nick, that was something good right there. That was smart.
That was very good, yeah.
That was smart.
Should call you Elisha.
I know. He did not have an easy life. But all right. Terry?
Like the school starting to make up and
Hmm?
just kids.
Kids. Yep. Yep. All right. Yeah, we got that one. All right. If I thank you that we can come to it. I think almost everyone's prayer requests were kind of ones that everyone else could be asking for. Prayer requests for connections with other people, wisdom, perseverance, family, kids. Um, uh, yeah, these are good prayer requests. Physical injuries, though, that one's new, and and unfun things like creating wills. Maybe that's that. But these are uh, things we have to deal with. But and I asked God to help Miss Stalling physically with this cancer. She's a miracle because she's gone longer than everyone's expected, and I ask God you continue to keep her going, and God, I ask you help. Another one, I guess all of us would be universal on, Lord, is kids at school. That things will go well for them, that they will learn and grow, and we thank you for the things you've done and the things you will do. In Jesus' name, amen. You know what? I was thinking, oh man, I'm running late. Then I just looked at the time. Everyone's got here on time, and it kind of caught me off guard and made me start earlier than I normally do. That's great. We are in 2 Kings chapter 15. We're going to start on 8. All right. Let's see. Verse 8 says this. On the 38th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Zechariah, the son of Jeroboam, reigned over Israel in Samaria 6 months. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, as his fathers have done. He did not depart from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who had made Israel sin. I've told you more than once that one of my ways of seeing how good the king was how long they lasted. This guy lasted 6 months. That's not good. And it says he did evil. And then it says he did evil as his fathers did. Now, can I ask a question that those of you that are older than I am, and maybe those of you that have had kids longer than I have, maybe can give me some answers on this. Is there a definite genetic disposition to sins? And also, is there a definite, like, if mom and dad are evil, do they, obviously it's not 100%, but is there, what do you think?
There is actually genetically traceable genes for infidelity and drug addiction.
I didn't know that about infidelity. Hmm? Yeah. I have told my daughters, we adopted my daughters, and they come from like 3 generations of addicts. And so I've told them, I was like, look, you can't touch things. There's certain things you can never touch. You can never, there's no way you're going to do well if you have, a little alcohol. You're not going to be capable of that, I don't think. So, I don't know if that's how I should view it, but that's how I look at it. What about, Now, look, there's nature and nurture. I mean, look, we have adopted kids, John and Jen. I'll bring it up to you again one more time because it says that the king did evil like his fathers did, and fathers' fathers did. And I wonder if there's a genetic disposition to certain attributes. But could it be even? I think there is a genetic thing, but it's also, how you're raised, obviously. I was talking to Jeff, and we were talking about Colton, how he has I think a mindset that's very similar to Jeff's, where he's thinking, kind of questioning things and stuff like that, and how that can be a very strong thing and a good thing, but also can be dangerous. So Amaya, I think, has she has some of her some of the things are going to be great strengths when she gets older, but can be a weaknesses now that she might have gotten from one of her parents. I'm not going to say which one. I'm not going to say which one, but it could be the one that just made that sound. She's, so we. So I think that we all have these tendencies, but it's something that I've been thinking about. Okay, one of the reasons why I don't know anyone else. John, you know Daniel, the pastor, Antioch Baptist. He and I had a great conversation last week. I really am very impressed by him. It's neat to see that there's other churches that love Jesus. I didn't know that. I thought that was just Windsor. No, it is neat to see. And he said something. I mean, he has 10 kids, and he said if all he does is he keeps all 10 kids going the right direction. The world today is not producing children. If we produce, 10 each family, I don't know about that, but if we if we work on getting our kids to not leave the faith, and we work, and even if it's not perfectly, but if we do a good portion of them, we will take over this country. We could have a revival just by, what do you call it? Breeding. Birth. Yeah, breed them out. Yeah, vote. And he's a smart man too. So I think that we. I wonder if this was a father and a father and a father all going off of the same sins, and they just rolled right in. And I so all that being said, it's something that was popped in my mind more partly because of that conversation, but also because we're seeing these kings. It'll be generations and generations. And by the way, this guy, we're gonna get into it. So.
Maybe some dispositions from your family. That doesn't definitely rule out how you're raised.
Right.
I definitely feel like that's a much stronger factor in how a kid turns out, how they're influenced. Because we have scriptures that talk about to raise children.
Yeah, train up a child in the way they should go.
So,
Well, and also there's and the power of God through conversion and salvation there. I'm thinking, I think it's 1 Corinthians 6 where you were sexually immoral, you were liars and thieves, as were some of you. So you were this life now. Now you are no longer this.
Right. Yeah.
So to walk in that life in Christ.
Yeah.
You were this, no longer that anymore.
Yeah. So I think, but this guy, he kept on going the same road, and verse 10 says this. Then Shalom, the son of Jabesh, conspired against him and struck and killed him in front of the people, and he reigned in his place. Now the rest of the acts of Zechariah, indeed, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? Okay, so 6 months after he became king, one of the people that was working under him, more than likely, conspired, had a plan, premeditated, knew what he was going to do, got in front of everyone, and struck and killed him. Okay? That's like someone that you're, probably a close confidant just comes and kills him. He did it himself, which, can I be honest with you, I kind of respect that more than modern day politicians, rulers, where they don't really ever get their hands dirty. You know what I'm saying? I was been
Hire assassins.
where they hire people to do the dirty work. They don't do it, and I think it's interesting. Like David started to have problems when he didn't go with the army. You know what I'm saying? And I'm wondering if we have created the civil government is telling the military what to do, and they're not part of it. Creates some issues. I don't know. But he reigned. This guy reigns he reigns instead. This Shalom. Now, I was listening to a historic podcast. I think it was. No, I wrote it down. It was on Napoleon. Napoleon, he was very traumatized with the fact that for a good while he didn't have a successor, right? Because non-familiar, non-family-oriented monarchs create insecurity for the whole, everyone, because you don't know who's going to be next, right? And so because of that, everyone's trying to kill the guy, because if you kill him, you get his job. And so when you had these monarchs that were panicked about not having a man-child, a son, like Henry VIII, remember, he was killing everyone. You didn't give me a son, I'm going to kill you. And the reason why was because they were trying to create security, not just for them. I know. These were not good guys. They didn't really care, but maybe they did. I think they did, because Napoleon expressed that he did. He was worried that the country, his empire, was going to be ripped apart, because if he didn't have a good successor, that people would fight amongst themselves, and there would be lack of security for the people. This is what's happening here in Israel. Now, Judea had the line of Judah, the line of David that was ruling, and they had a better security. It also happened to be that a lot of them were God-fearers. But they sorry, two mics on there. But I find that interesting that must have been a God-given plan. If you're going to have a monarch, it's better to have a family of monarch. I always thought, oh no, I'd rather vote them in. Yeah, if you vote them in, or if they have then someone's going to kill someone. Can I be honest with you? I think we're right now experiencing this more than any other time. We're probably going to be voting for either Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Okay, I'm not going to get into the politics of that. But let's be honest, what everyone's going to be thinking about more than any other time in presidential elections is who's going to be president when these guys die, because they're probably not going to make it through their term. Trump may, he may, but we're going to be thinking more about the vice president than we've ever have, because these guys are old. They're both old. Joe Biden, I don't think he's as vibrant as he was when he became president. You like my wording? So we're thinking about who's going to be the vice president more than ever. Well, that's what's going on there. There was a lack of security of the person, and so therefore it was creating mayhem for the country, and it gets worse. But that security was there. Verse 12 says this: This was the word of the Lord which he spoke to Jehu, saying, Your sons shall sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation. And so it was. See, God told Jehu, now Jehu wasn't perfect, but God used him to clean out the really bad kings. And when Jehu came in and cleaned out the really bad kings, God said, look, you haven't done things perfect, but because you've done what I asked you to do, 4 generations of your sons are going to be king. There was a confidence, a security in that country for those 4 generations. Now, the 4 generations didn't go really long. This guy only lasted 6 months. But there was a blessing for multi-generations. Had a mark. Yeah, I do. And that happened in 2 Kings 10, verse 30. Says, and the Lord said to Jehu, because you have done well in doing what was right in my sight, and have done to the house of Ahab all that was in my heart, your son shall sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation. The one thing I want you to get out of that is going back to the generation thing, going back to, what how can we have the best effect on our kids? Because remember, as that pastor said, and Vody Bottom said, is, I said his name wrong, didn't I? Yeah, I'm not even going to try. I'm going to say it again wrong. But when the best way to have an effect on this world is to have all our kids, stay with God. The best way to have our kids stay with God is to stay with God ourselves, is to do what's right. Linda, the way Linda has, an effect on Greg, to get Greg to try to be godly, is just, work on herself. She works on her, and then I'm like, whoa, she's doing that. I need to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I hope vice versa. And that's when we do that, that's what we're going to be doing going down. How many of you asked for family? You didn't say family, but I knew that was one of your prayer requests. I know that's one of your prayer requests. I know that's one of your prayer requests. I know that. How many of us, our prayer request is our kids? Well, what's the best thing we can do to work on our kids is work on us. So, all right, not to say that I got it all figured out. I'm just saying it can't hurt. And it sure makes sense because that's what happened there. By the way, I kind of find it humorous. God said fourth generation, but the last generation was only lasted 6 months. So God did his obligation, but he didn't like have to go any further than what his obligation was. He's like, all right, to the 4th generation, you guys are going to be king. 4th guy gets into kinghood, and he's like, yeah, 6 months, I can't handle this anymore. You guys have just pushed it too far. So, 6 months, that's a short kingdom. Let's get to this guy, Shalom, who reigned in Israel. In verse 13, Shallum's king, the son of Jabesh, became king in the 39th year of Uzziah, king of Judah, and he reigned a full month in Samaria. For Menahem, the son of Gadai, went up from Tirzah, came to Samaria, and struck Shalom, the son of Jabesh, in Samaria, and killed him, and he reigned in his place. So I was saying 6 months was a sign that the guy was really bad. This guy gets 1 month. This guy had, I didn't even notice. It didn't even say if he was evil. I guess it's kind of given. It's not a good sign if you're killing your superiors. If I'm like, people are like, yeah, Greg is now the senior pastor at the church because he went and killed Brother Rick. If I do that, kick me out. That's not a good sign. That is not a good pastor. I mean, some of you may be like, yeah, good shot. But it's still, no, it's not a good thing. Well, you shouldn't do that. John?
I thought about it for years. It's almost like either the people are like the sheep without a shepherd in a sense, but like there's no following that this king has. This dude just kills him, and now he's king. And then after a month, this guy kills him, and then he's king. It's like there's no there's no like citizen leadership or
Well,
initiative or anything. It
that-
seems like with these, I don't understand.
Yeah, actually, we're going to get into that. I think you're correct on that. Confusion. This guy, Memehem, he was in the town Tirzah. Tirzah was the original capital city, right? But it was also the military base. This was the military commander. He followed the king before him. You just killed his king. The reason why he showed up was because, you got it, John, it was because he was saying, hey, this is not how I want this going. You can't just come and kill my king. And if that's how you think it's going to work, well, then I'm going to work it this way too. Look, I think in our country right now, if say one of the presidents, and I know I'm sure there's people that feel that all the presidents have done this, but if a president or a government starts to overstep their bounds to a fullest degree, say they force everyone to, I don't know, where, huh? There you go. Thank you, Carrie. I was going to say something that's literally happened recently. Carrie helped me. Yeah, bow down and worship. Say, right? Joe Biden next week says everyone in the United States has to start praying to Joe Biden. Okay? And if you don't, we're going to come and we're going to spank you. All right? Now the reason why I said spank is that kill is way worse, but maybe even kill. You know what's going to happen? The military is going to go against him. Our country's not going to allow that. There's going to be commanders and soldiers and firemen. Now, and hey, look, not all of them. I mean, there's some, that are already worshiping him, but there's going to be some that's going to stand up, and I think that happened here. But I think going too far, killing the president, as this guy did, I think he poked a bear. I think he ticked off the people. You know what I'm saying? He did it in front of people. Maybe it would have been better if he did use an assassin, Henry. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he would have gotten away with it better. But instead, he killed the king in front of everyone, and it created, Yeah, go ahead.
Israel's reign as they started out, they would have, I mean, I don't think they had jails to speak of. I mean, maybe later, but they would execute judgment. I mean, if somebody murdered somebody, I don't know what the Redeemer, kinsman, or whatever.
Yeah, kinsman, Redeemer, yeah.
Okay, he had the responsibility, closest relative, male relative would go out and chase the guy down and put him in the dust. Okay, that's over. But, they would go to the city of refuge, and the priest would decide between them.
Yep.
And if it was an accident where somebody killed somebody, well, he stayed in that city until the high priest died. And then he was allowed to be free.
Yeah.
But for the king, who's going to judge over the king? If the king's having everybody knocked off at his pleasure, somebody has to rise up and take him down.
Yeah.
I mean, look at, we had Ahab and Jezebel. Somebody rose up and took them down.
Yeah, Jehu.
Yeah, and that was a good thing that he did.
Yep.
Now, we don't know what this king did that was evil, do we?
This Salem guy?
Yeah, did he
I think we don't, but I think that he lasted.
Was he worthy of being executed because he was going to kill more people?
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm definitely going to tell you this: that the one we're talking about right now, he is not a great guy. But we'll get into that. But yeah, I think you're right. There's justice. There is justice, and and this guy could have been going there to cause just justice, but he didn't because he took over the kingship.
Somebody had to.
Yeah. There's some truth to that too. Look.
Now, Napoleon earlier, he came in after they killed off all the royalty.
Yep.
And he would go off and have battles, and he would be losing in the battles, but they didn't have real good communication. He would run back to Paris or whatever, get up another army, and go start another battle.
Yep.
But somebody said to Napoleon, and this gets you into the mentality of all the war stuff. He would be handing out medals to people, and somebody said, "What? That's stupid. Why are you handing out these medals to people?" And he said, "Hey, you underestimate this. People are willing to give their lives for a little piece of metal. And we have to keep in mind that our government does similar things to us."
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are many unjust war that goes on because of bananas or selling munitions, or we want to get the land of this country under this. We want to put a puppet in here or there, and you're part of the cannon fodder for it.
Well, I think that's pretty much all wars, is people fighting over things. Yeah.
You know, and on the note, because we're talking war, but I mean, this is man-to-man violence. You know, I've been thinking a lot about, you know, how violence has gotten worse in the United States, and I'm a big Second Amendment fan. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I think that I should not only be allowed to get guns, I should be allowed to get an F-16. If I could buy one, Pepsi, where's my my jet? You know, I'm all for, you know, people, but there is violence happening more, or sure appears to be more. I mean, there's these shootings that are happening that, and I'm wondering why. And I got three answers, to be honest with you, that popped to my mind that can connect to this. First off is everyone seems to be more selfish, or rephrase, it's told that we're supposed to be selfish. These guys think they're meant to be king. I don't right now think I'm supposed to be president. Some of these people think that they're supposed to be the complete ruler of themselves, and therefore there shouldn't be a god, there shouldn't be a king, and there shouldn't be teachers, there shouldn't be whoever telling them what to do. And that's one of the reasons why they're snapping off and killing people. And on that note, the selfish narcissist view, it is kind of mental, and I think there's a lot of mental things that are happening, and one of the reasons why is because in the rejection of God, people become more selfish. When you reject God as your ruler, then you reject everything else. But the other thing is, you know, we've done this slowly. The violence is happening in our culture. It's creeping up, and it's showing itself more than it has in times past. But I think it's, you know, you kill, what's the stat on abortions? The amount of abortions the United States had. I mean, New York City, more black kids are aborted than born. What happens, and the last thing I think is we've devalued humans. It's crazy. You got something?
And on top of that, the government, through the Medicaid program, pays for scholarships.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then they take the fetuses and they sell them on the market because they're aborted fetuses.
Right.
So they're making all this money off of the process and selling it to people as women's rights. And that's horrible, that's where our strength is now.
Yep. So it's the violence is just brewing violence, and the government is, I don't, you know,
the government's not helping that problem. All right, verse 16. I lost my place here. Sorry. Verse 16, it says this. Then from Tirzah, Menahem attacked Tepezah, all who were there and its territory, because they did not surrender. Therefore he attacked it, and all the women that were who were with child be ripped open. Okay. Going back to what you said, John, the first king, the people did not accept him. The second king, who killed him for taking over the job. What's happening is the country is splitting apart. In this king's attempt, and please don't act like or think that I'm being giving an excuse for what his actions. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to keep the country together. Some people would say that about some presidents in times past. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in your attempt to keep the country together, it creates war. It creates death. He's attacking the people that are trying to, that are probably going to attack him, preemptive strike. And they won't surrender. They won't give in. There was during the whole COVID thing in China, there was this area where the people were locked in their houses. They weren't allowed out of their houses. And they had this drone flying around and speaking. And the what it was saying was, give up your soul's desire for freedom. Just mind-boggling that they would say those words. Give up your desire for freedom. Your soul's desire for freedom. And the people are hearing that and they're like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to just sit here and not leave my house. But the bottom line was, these people weren't going to do that. And so he went and killed them and attacked them. He attacked his own people. That's bad. Then you get into the ripping open of pregnant women. Okay. This is pure evil. Right off the dot. But it was an act that heathen armies would do to other heathen armies, as a showing of whooping you into submission.
Japan did that to China.
Okay, yeah.
World War II.
Yeah. It's why I think there is. I'm a man, so I was gonna say a protector, but I think all men are this way. Here's a good illustration. My dog bit Amaya. Okay, one of my favorite humans in the world. Okay, and it's actually he also bit Sophia and Linda. So he went through a biting phase. I'm hoping that phase is over. If it's not, he's over. When he bit Amaya, everything in me wanted to put the dog down. Was it because I don't like dogs? No. Was it because I didn't like him? No. It's because there's something in me that was violated because I'm supposed to protect my child. Every man in that area, every man in that country felt a violation. I feel violated by reading those words. He did that because it was an emasculation of the country to a degree. It was showing, hey, you come at me, your worst nightmare is going to happen. One of the commentaries I read said it was a sign of, you didn't open up to me, then I'm going to open you up, which is horrific. To do that to someone is horrible. To do that to someone that is under your protection, he's supposed to be their king. Yes.
Some of the most successful conquering armies, in order to establish themselves to keep from having more and more death and destruction of people when they would take over a country, they would be better off under their leadership than previous leadership.
Yep.
They would have less taxes. They would encourage the young men to join their military, and they would reward them good.
Yep.
The people. So people who enjoined good to their people would expand their kingdom.
Yep.
And when they figured that out, everyone was better off.
I often,
Except for to the extent of they became just a war.
I've often wondered if politically or government style, how much I'm supposed to fight. Am I supposed to just not worry about the government stuff, the things that are going on the political things and the world things, as much as I am just get the gospel out? Because the best way to affect our government is to affect the culture. The best way to affect the culture is to get the gospel out. Yeah.
But at the same time, if everybody that you're getting the gospel out to is turning their backs to the political aspects, then no one's playing their part in making sure that the bigger picture is
Yeah.
taken care of.
I'm thinking you're absolutely correct. And
It's not so much that we shouldn't do either. There's a balance, I think. But I also think that the key, there's so many people that get so involved with the political thing that they forget about the gospel thing, and that's not good.
Done. What fruits do they bear? Then can you go on that guise of which way you're gonna vote or lean? And then like when you were talking about if we had a bunch of kids and raised them the right way, we could take over. Well, how are we gonna take over if we're not putting anything in?
yeah,
So we could be a greater number, but if we're not a voice in that number being heard, then that number no longer counts because we're just obedient sheep in the wrong sense.
I can't disagree with you. I can't.
Maybe it's more what I'm called for. I don't know. I think you're right. I think you're right. Yes, Jeff.
So there's always a remnant of the. While you guys were talking, I always think of like Jeremiah. Jeremiah was out there preaching to the people there, and they didn't turn, and they didn't want to hear it. There was always a remnant that still kept, that God still keeps with us. So, remember that gives us hope. That gives us, When I used to go down to campus, and so there were very few people turned, and sometimes they do they reject the gospel. That's not. The glory doesn't come by the numbers. The glory comes because you're being faithful. And so, be faithful to Christ. Run your race. Yes, stand up for what is good, but yes, preach the gospel. Glorify God in all things. There's always a remnant.
Yeah.
There's these, the other point was like, I believe it's almost heretical teaching of like post-millennial where no, we have to go out there and we got to enforce almost theonomous where we got to enforce the laws. We got to even put back those laws that God did back in Leviticus and stuff. Let's bring those laws back, and that's not what the scriptures say. Like, we will be. Like John, I was reading John 16, it's John 16, I believe, where you will suffer persecution, but fear not, I have overcome the world. So we will suffer, we will go through it, but he's faithful. And cling to it. If you look at Christians of the past there who were burned at the stake, they're just for following the Roman candles, where Christians were being burned just to light up Rome. It's it's giving Him the glory, the full glory of it all. It's not about, taking over or being it's about glorifying Him in all things.
Our kingdom is not of this world, did Jesus say?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
It-
it may not all happen. Some of it may happen here, but mostly the next world, I think.
No.
Or coming back to the
Oh, coming
millennium.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes back.
Yeah.
As a judge, not a.
It is interesting how maybe that's one of the eschatological views that has effect on your current events. You know what I'm saying? If you're thinking about end times differently, it may affect the way you look at politics today. And I think that can be good and that can be bad. But the thing to me is that I still think I agree that we should be involved, but I think that souls should be a higher priority. I think that our walk with God should be a higher priority. Our family should be a higher priority.
And who leads our country has a lot to do with that, because they stipulate what's in our schools,
Oh yeah.
what our society stands for,
Yep.
and what's allowed, and they make all the laws.
Yeah.
So which side of it do we want to be on?
And so I do think that I mean it's something I'm always battling in my mind, because I love my country. I love a lot of the things it stands for. But then there's other times where I'm like, well, maybe there's some things I need to be thinking more about.
You love
And
God way more than that. Right. You love God way more than that.
Right.
should.
Should.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. Carrie just put a bow on the end of the thing. You're right. We should love God more than we love our country. Yep. We're going to have to end it there.
But through that love of God, that's the foundation that our country was supposed to be built on. Was
But
our
it was supposed to
ability.
be, but it's not anymore.
And
No,
a
not
lot
anymore.
of that also comes from the fact that we allow immigrants to come here without nationalization, which means that they don't have to go through the learning process and the value system. Like, there are so many people that don't even know that English is the American language. They're like, there is no American language. No, there's like a whole generation of people who have no idea what it means to be American.
Yeah.
Because we've lost that. And then with that devalue, that has to do with who's running our country and who's making the laws and saying what we have to do to be here. So we're losing everything that makes America great because God isn't first anymore. But how do we make God first? To take it back over.
Or in our own life. We put God first in our own
We
life.
have that, but we
But God's will be done, what I'm saying also. Let's not forget God.
Well, you put a bow on it, and then we took the bow off again. All right, let's pray real quick because we got to get into the church. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your word. I ask God you help us to balance this out. Maybe not balance perfectly, but to know exactly how we're supposed to play this out. Worrying about our country and the politics and all this stuff, but to worry more about the things that you want us to worry about and to know how we're supposed to work those out. We thank you.